here. So I'm going to start with database table questions. Right, like I've already explained, database consisting of 4 objects with tables, queries, form, and then report. Then regarding the database data types, one thing that you must take note is this one, which is the attachment and OLE object. They mostly ask questions on attachment and then OLE object. That is to insert objects like images and then videos, that's multimedia documents. Then attachment, to attach similar files, can be email attachment, or it could be any other files that you want to attach. So you need to study these data types. First part of the question, they will ask you these questions to change the data types also. Right, and then the lookup wizard for combo box. Then we also have the datasheet view. What do we have to do under the datasheet view? When you open datasheet view, that's the activating the totals command, which allow us to do calculations like average, sum, count, max, and then minimum. Under the datasheet view also, we can sort and filter. Then we can delete and insert new records. We can also change background and alternate colors. We can also change cell effects and then change the row height and column width. So basically, this is what can be done in datasheet view. They can ask you questions over there. Then the design view, that is where we get access to edit the table and create the table or form or any database object. So there in the table, we set the primary key, changing the field size, formatting it, changing input mask, decimals, default value, required combo box, validation rule, and validation text, and then also index. So this is what we will be required to answer questions on in terms of database tables. Right. So let's start. Before I come to this criteria, this is the validation criteria. I'll come there, whereby when it's talking about date, you say between, especially if you know the start date and then the end date. You say between the first date. You don't have to worry yourself to put the hashtag. It will be there automatically. And also the age, like numbers, if you know the start number and then end number. This is what you do between. Then we also have null. Null means empty. Like those who do not have cell phone number or email address, we say null. And then not null means not empty. Those who have something in that particular field. Then this particular one, which is very, very important also, which is the, we call it not, which is excluding. So when you use the greater than and less than together, we call it excluding. That is not. And then the wildcard, we'll also be using it more often. The asterisk, when you use wildcard. So I'm going to solve more questions on this. Then the input mask table, you get all of them here in this particular document. So join me so that I start the first question. I'll try and pick 2 or 3 questions regarding table. Then from there, I move straight to queries and then report. And then also I wrap up with the form. Right, so I'm going to open 4Com Club database. Or you same as the 3Com Club. Right. Now this question says, add the horizontal and vertical grid lines in datasheet view. Right. Now, when you open database first, you will see it this way. And this is the table. And this is the query and then form. Now we need to open the club member. So you double click And this is the datasheet view. Now, whenever you are formatting in datasheet view, what you need to do when they say format cell, that means you are going to change the colors and others. So to format them, you can use tell me what to do, or you go to text formatting. You click on this arrow. Like I said, in examination, use the easiest way or the shortest time to accomplish your work. So here, when they say change the background, you can say format, or you can say text formatting. Right. Format cell, format cells, or you go to cell formatting. Now it will give you data sheet formatting. Or like I said, you can also use the text formatting, and you click on this arrow. So here, this question is telling us to add the horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal and vertical lines are already added. So meaning maybe this question was modified already. So if they say remove the horizontal line, you just click on this to remove it. And we also have other properties like the cell effect, like raise or sunken. They can ask you question on that. Also, you can change the background colors here, both the background and alternate background color, as well as the grid line colors. Right. Then the next question also says change the property of the date field so that the user has to enter. We will come there. Still under the data sheet, you can be given a question to change the row height. So let's say you want to change this row height to 25. You right click, you see row height, and then you type 25. It will change all the rows, the height dimension for you. And then also the column width, you just right click, you see column width, or we call it um, field width. You can just also change it. Then also in datasheet view, they can give you a question to sort. Let's say we are sorting according to members. You select members, there's an arrow next to it, then you see A to Z or Z to A. So that is how we sort also in datasheet view. Then there's also filter, but which normally they don't ask questions regarding filter in database. So take note, they don't ask questions regarding filter in database, grade 12, because when you save it, the filter will also go when you open it again. Now, the total, this is what I was talking about. When you activate the totals, it will allow you to do calculation. You will see the total row. So let's say we want to find average fee. So under the fee, you click there and then you select average so that to calculate the average fee for all of them. That's the total row. Right. So this is all about the datasheet view. Now let's shift our attention to design view. How do you switch it to design view? Um, you will see this tab here or this icon here called design view. This is datasheet view. So you can use it to easily change. You go here, design view, you come here, datasheet view. Right. Now, if you want to also change from here, you right click, design view. So now let's move to the next question, which says, change the property of the date ID field so that the user has to enter. I want to emphasize on this. When you see has to enter, that means the property is called required. When you see has to enter or must or it should not be left empty, there are three words that you should look out for. Has to enter, must, or it should not be left empty. That is required. Now, so we go to the ID. Let's check whether we have opened that's the meetings. Date ID. Yes, date ID. Unfortunately, I don't see date ID here. We have devices. Okay, let me type date ID. Now, when you say has to enter, when you click on it, you see the property, field properties here, and then you look for required. Then you choose yes. There's a drop down for yes. So required, then you select yes. Right. So that's how we choose has to enter. Now change the property of the speaker field. Let me see if I took the right one. Oh no, sorry. I chose wrong one. It's a meetings. So this date ID, then required, we choose yes. And then the next question says, change the property, a property of the speaker field so that the user cannot enter more than 25 characters. So you see here, they have changed the way they frame the question. Cannot enter, that means the field size. So meaning the field size should be 25. So you go to speaker and then you change the field size to 25. You change the field size to 25. Right. So basically that's how we change the format. You see the field size. Then the next question, add a field with the name photo between the speaker field and then the topic field. Now the new field is called photo and it should be between the speaker and then the topic field. So you can see there's a topic field here and then the speaker. Now, the easier way to solve this question, because it's between the speaker and then the topic field, that means that it's going to replace the topic. You right click and say insert rows, then you're going to have a space. Then you type photo. Then this field must be able to store a digital image. Now, because the field is to store a digital image, it cannot be short text. So the best field type should be OLE object because it's going to store multimedia, that's images. So we choose OLE object. Now, let's say maybe in examination you made a mistake and then you inserted it here. And then you chose OLE object. Now, you can also drag it to that position. To drag it, you click on this side and then you hold down your mouse, then you drag it to the position. So meaning you can change the positions of different fields by clicking next to it, then you can drag it to that position. So take note of that aspect. They can ask you that type of question also in prep or final examination. Now, change the properties of the distance field so that the value in this field will be displayed with one decimal place in datasheet view. Now, we are changing it so that it will be displayed one decimal place. So we go to distance field. And then here, the format should not be general. Okay, it's a number there. Then the decimal place is 0, so we change it to 1. Now, sometimes if it keeps on changing, the best format is to make it to be a fixed one, this one. When you choose fixed, it's going to give you a fixed number of decimal place. So here, when you want it to be always 1, you change the format to fixed, and at the decimal place, you choose the right decimal place. Right, now the next question says, a user cannot enter a value less than 3 or greater than 30. That means it should be from 3. You see, it cannot enter. So you must also watch out for questions like this in database, the negative aspect whereby they negate the question. So here it says cannot enter a value less than 3, meaning that the values to be entered should be from 3, and then it shouldn't be greater than 30. That means from 3 up until 30. So this one also, we use validation rule. Validation rule, and then we start with between 3 and 30. Between 3 and 30. Now, when you say between 3 and 30, that means from 3 to 30. Or we could have just said also, that question could have just said greater than 2 and less than 31. But I will always advise you to use between. It's very easy. We could have also said greater than or equals to 3 and less than or equals to 30. So any of these is right answer for that particular question. Right. The next question. Change the properties of the claim field so that the field is displayed as shown when a new record is added. Now you can see here, when a new record is added, there's a tick. So let's check. Claim field is yes and no. Now there should be a tick. We see true or false. So you can choose yes and no, or on and then off. So here it chose yes and then no. Then you see, oh, they said it should always be tick. Let's check the question again. So that it's displayed when the new record is added. That means it should always be tick. That is yes. So we don't need to change this yes and no, that true or false. We just have to choose the default value to be yes. That means it should always be tick when a new record is added. Should be yes. Right. So yes and no having the tick, then the default value is yes. All right. So the data type is yes and no. And this one should be yes. That means a new record is added. So we don't need to change this part. I think it was already true or false. We leave it as it is. And then the default is yes. Then you can also set the validation rule for it if the question requires you to also do that. Right. Now, the next question says, remove the reimburse field. We have to remove this, so you right click and choose delete rows. The code for each meeting is made up of as follows. So there's a code that we need to create, or the code is already there, and then it should be made up of the following: 3 compulsory letters, of which only the first is uppercase, followed by 2 compulsory digits, followed by a single letter, and the example is given to you over there. So now, if we go back to the input mask character sheet, it says 0 is required digit, 9 is optional digit, hashtag is optional digit and space, but the hashtag allow for plus and minus. 0 does not, 9 doesn't allow for plus and minus. Right. So you can see example here, plus it mostly when you choose hashtag, it can cater for even a cell phone number. L is a required letter from A to Z. Like for instance, 2L, it will give like AB. Then the question mark is optional letter, Like if you put the question mark, the first L here is A, and these question marks are optional. Either you type it or you leave it. Capital A is a required digit or letter. You can take letter or a number. Small a is optional digit or letter. Right, so you must know this. And then ampersand and then C. Ampersand is any character or space. And then capital C is optional any character or space. Then the greater than forces all characters to be in uppercase. Less than forces everything to be in lowercase. Then if you put the forward slash, escape the next character, then it treats it literally like this one. So basically you must know this. 0 goes with L, 9 and then question mark are optional. 0 and L are required, and then less than and control to capitalize different, whether to change capital letters or small letters. So this question here is a 3 compulsory letter. So let's go to the code field. Then input mask, 3 compulsory letter, we put 3L. And it says of which only the first is uppercase. So only the first, so we put greater than before the first one. And the next two, we put less than to make it to be lowercase. Then 2 compulsory digits, we put 2 zeros. And then a single letter entry optional. So this is a letter that is optional. So we put question mark. And then they gave you an example. So basically, this should be the input mask. This should be the right input mask. The 3 compulsory letters are these, but then only the first one should be capital. That's why I put the greater than. Then the next two are lowercase. That's why I put less than here. And then the 2 digits, which is required, and optional letter also. So this is the best or the right answer for that particular question. Now, the next question, change the existing input mask of the code field to ensure that the user enters the data in this field in the correct format as indicated above. So the same question. Add a primary key to any suitable field except the description field. Now let's look at it. They don't want us to add it to description. Why is it not supposed to be for description? Because it's note. Right, now we can add it to field. A primary key should have the following. Whenever you get a question for primary key, you should take note of this. A primary key should be unique. A primary key should not be empty. So it should be a unique field, meaning that you cannot have duplicates, and it should not be also empty. So that's the first thing you must check before you set up a primary key so that it doesn't give you an error in examination. Now let's go here and check. We have date ID. We have the speaker. The photo cannot be primary key. Maybe the photos can be the same. The topic, they say remove the description. Distance can be the same. It cannot be. And then the code, there shouldn't be any empty space. So the best one is the code. The best one is the code because the date, if you look at the description, date of the meeting, it can be duplicated. So you right click and then you choose primary key. So that's how we set a primary key to a field. Right, now edit the single record in the table by copying the full content of the text file for forensics to the description field for this record. First, change the data type of the description field. Now, they said we must add something there. Now let's take a look at it, whether we can find a forensic. So this one must be taken. We have to copy it. Now we are going to paste it. And we can only paste it in the datasheet view. Now, look at the description. It says short text. But because this content is going to be a lot, there's a lot of text. Remember, short text should not be more than 255. Now, this is going to be more than 255 characters. So we have to change it to a long text, or in the lower version, we call it memo. So we change the data type to long text. Then we can now add this one as our description. Right. So that is what that question wanted us to do. Now, the next one talks about calculations. Add a calculator field called comment that will display the message old employer if the person is 60 years and above, otherwise new employer. So now we are talking about the age, and we have age here. It's not this one. That question refers to club members. So we have to open the club members. That is where we have the age. The age join is there. So we go to club members, then we put our calculation called comment. Now to do calculations, we change it from short text to calculated. And then you put your calculations here. Now, how do we do this calculation? The question says, if the member's age is more than 60, then we say the age joined is more than 60 years, then we say old employer, otherwise we make it new employer. So now, we start by typing if statement is double if. If 60 years is less than the age join. Now, I'll explain why I put the number first, because I've realized that new versions of the Office and even the some of the older ones, you struggle if you want to go the normal way. If you put a field like age greater than 60, is going to give you error message. So I'll advise you to put the number first. They said age is greater than 60. So you see where that age is, then it's greater than 60. So the number first, then comma. You put a message, old employer. Don't forget to put it in inverted comma, then comma, new employer. Then you close it. Right. And then we go back and then check. So this one is new employer because it's 51 years. Now let's see some of the old employers, 67 years. So that's why it's written as old employer. So if I make it to be 61, it will still be old employer. Right. So that's how we do if statement in database table. You can do so many calculations there. You can do left. You can do that's the text function. You can do text function. You can do any calculation there. Now, please, so I want you to take note so that you don't make this mistake. If it was spreadsheet or if it was the normal one, it was we were going to change it, but here we put the number first, otherwise it's going to give you error message. Now, because the question said if the age join is more than, so is the 60 less than the age join, then you put your calculations there. Now, let's take a look at another one. Let's say the code one. This time I want to do calculations like text function. Maybe the left of the name or the left of the device, comma 3. And then we use the ampersand the same way that we do in spreadsheet. And let's say the date of birth, the birth date. So we can use the text function left, len, right function, and all of them to create a code also. So watch out for that. We can also do the normal calculations like multiply by this. You are increasing an amount. Let's say we want to increase the fee by 40%. Let's say vet. To calculate the vet, we can just go to calculated and then we say 15 divided by 100 times fee. You double click on it and then okay. So that will calculate the vet value for us. Right. So basically, that's how we do calculations in a table. Now, let's take another question of the table. Then we move straight to queries. So if you look at this table, it's also similar. Displaying in capital letters, you put greater than. Okay, let's look at the quiz and then also do that. Then we move straight to 5 usage. There's also a question that I'm interested with. Yeah, I want us to close all the gaps. Some of the questions, if we have tackled it before, I will jump it, then you do it so that we don't spend more time on this. So I'll move straight to 4 quiz. For the quiz. Now it says adjust the properties of the name field so that it contains maximum of 40. Don't forget, we are opening the results table and we are going to adjust to the name field so that we make it to be 40. Then the next question says display in capital letters. So meaning the format we put greater than. When they say display in capital letters, you put greater than under the format. If they say display it in the lowercase, you put less than. Make sure that the date field will always or will display the current date every time a new field is added. So the date field must display the current date every time the new field is added. That is very, very important. Whenever you see this, every time a new field is added, that means we are talking about the default value. We are talking about the default value. So here we go to the default value. And now the current date, we can use date or we can say now. Now, bracket open, bracket close. We don't use today in the table. Today in database table doesn't work. We use now, or you can say date. Then the next question, add the field name mark between the name and the date field to store the final mark for each learner. It's similar between the name and then the date field. So meaning we have to add mark here. You right click and choose row, insert rows. Then we can type mark. And then the mark will store numbers. So we choose number. Then it says assign a suitable data type for the mark field, which is the number. Please don't forget, like this question here. The question says mark with that one that says with Afrikaans name So you have to type as you see. So mark underscore. Yeah, mark, and then including the Afrikaans name, you must type it as you see. Right. Set the primary key on the suitable field. So here the primary key obviously will be the learner ID or the code. But now check here. We have to verify. We need to verify here the learner ID and then the code. The learner ID has something, so we need to make it to be the primary key. The code doesn't have a primary key, so it says the code of the test written duplicate exists, so we cannot make the code as the primary key. Always also check from the description. It will guide you which one should you choose the primary key for. Then the input mask, 3 digits for the code field. So 3 digits, so we put 3 zeros followed by a hyphen. Don't just type the hyphen. You must put it in inverted comma because it's a character. And then followed by 3 letter characters in capital case or uppercase. So you put greater than 3L as you see in the example. So sometimes also they can give you the example only. So you can see these are 3 letters and this is hyphen and then ABC, which is the capital letters. Right. Then we go to donation field that any amount more than or equal to 500 will be accepted. So donation field, any amount more than or equals to 500 will be accepted. So you put greater than or equals to 500. Or you can say greater than 499. Yeah, that means it's starting from 500. We can choose greater than. Here, we cannot use between because we don't know where it is starting from. We don't have the start value. So we cannot use between. Right. Then insert appropriate text for the above mentioned rule. So the validation greater than or equal to 500. And then the validation text, sorry, I put it in the wrong place, should be always mention the field name. Donation amount should be from 500 and above. Accepted. So you must always mention the field name first before you put the rule. Don't say between, just say from. And you can sometimes get it from the question paper. Donation field amount. Don't say equals to, otherwise they are going to penalize you. Say from 500 are accepted. Right, data type for the amount field to display in decimal place. So we go to the amount field. The data type cannot be short text. It should be currency. And then it should be in 2 decimal place. Right. Then also insert a record. As you can see. Now, where do we insert the record? We insert record in datasheet view. And this same question is telling us to sort, change the background color, and then change the fill effect with sunken. So here we can go back to datasheet view. And then we enter that record. As you can see, you enter it here. So take note of that also. Right, now they say we must open the questionnaire and fly table. So you double click, and then they are asking us to change the cell formatting. Like I said, you can say cell formatting or format cell. It should be sunken. Background color to be yellow, alternate to red. So background color should be yellow, alternate background color to be red color. And then the cell effect to sunken. And then we should change the row height to standard height and sort it according to level. So row height, you right click, row height, it should be standard. That means we take standard height, and then also we sort according to the level. So here is the level field. You go there and then you choose ascending order. Right. So basically, this is what this question wanted us to do. It basically covered almost all aspects in database table. The only aspect that was not covered is I think index with duplicate, and then also yeah, I think that's the only one that it didn't cover. Other than that, this question covered almost all aspects in database table. Right. So we will move on. All these questions have been repeated. So you can see add a photo, sort, and all this. Insert a calculated field called code that will extract the first four characters of the water activity in uppercase. So I think that's the only one that I will just check. I will go straight there and do that one, 5 water usage. The rest um, are easy. So I'm only going to focus on the calculations there. Please don't forget to add your comments. Yeah, someone is asking about the session. We are covering all the database. We won't be long. Can you hear me now again? All right. I'll come back to you. If you have any comment and you cannot hear me, just also, yeah, let me check my. All right. Thank you so much for responding to it. Now, we are moving straight up to this calculated field, the code, and then these totals. Then I will just move straight to queries. Table is the one that takes a lot of time, but queries, report, and then the form will not take us so much. And then after this video, I will break them down to become shorter versions also. I'm going to separate the table from the queries and from the form so that when you are watching, you know which one you are doing. Now, I will move straight to 5 activity or the water usage. It says insert a calculated field called code that will extract the first 4 characters of the water use activity. So we go there and then the name should be called code. And then the data type will be calculated. Now the first 4 characters, we use the function called left. So left of what water use activity, how many characters you put comma 4. And the question says your answer should be in uppercase. The answer should be in uppercase. So for answer to be in uppercase, we use another function called uCase. Remember in spreadsheet, we say upper and then lower, but here we use uCase. So you go just before the left function, you just type U, then you see uCase. If you say L, then that lowercase. And then we close the bracket. So this one we'll calculate the first four characters from here and then convert it into uppercase. Right. Now, we move straight to the next calculated field, that's total. That will add all the 7 days activity. So the function name is total, and the data type is called calculated. So we are adding all this day 1 up to day 7. So you double click on day 1, say plus day 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, plus 7. Right. So it's going to calculate and add all of them for you. So this is all about the calculated field. Now, let's move straight. If there's no question, I will move straight. You can try all these questions. When you get this data, try to do all these questions. They follow the same trend. Like this one here, they gave the validation text, so they wanted the rule. So here the rule will be habitat into inverted comma or escape it. So you just choose that one. So you can go through them. Right. And then this one aspect that I think we did not cover is the input or the combo box. The combo box. Like you see here, combo box, we needed to add a combo box so that we can type the options. And this one also, all the promises should have a combo box. I think I will only pick that part before I move on. The rest are the same. It's only combo box. So I will pick 5 cities, or without even doing, I'll use the same data so that we don't waste more time on the combo box. Now, let's say we have a new field. We have a new field called cities. Now, if you want to change this city so that there will be an option to choose from, you change the data type name to Lookup Wizard. Now, there are 2 options. If you are to select the value from another table, you choose the first part. That's it. I want the lookup field to get the values from another table. Now, if we are going to type it ourselves, we choose this one. I will type in the values. Then you type the values here. Now, I realized that this year or last year question paper, they brought the 2 columns, the number of columns. So if the columns are 1, that is vertical. Now, we can change it to be 2 columns or 3 columns. Now, when I change it to 2 columns, column 1 will be the city name. Let's say Freiburg, Cape Town, Pretoria. Now, if you want to know the province of that one, Freiburg is Northwest, Cape Town, Western Cape, Pretoria, G. Now, you go to next and then you finish. Let's go and check it. You see that when you go there, cities, it shows you in 2 columns. Freiburg coming from Northwest. So when you want to have it in 2 columns, that is how we do the lookup wizard. Watch out for this type of questions also. They can give you a screenshot like this, then they tell you to work on it like that. So use the lookup wizard and then you select 2 columns. Right. They can also edit it when you go to lookup. You see combo box with value list, Northwest, Freiburg, Northwest, Cape Town, Western Cape. But then the trick is here. Column count should be 2. If the column count is 1, that means all of them are going to be in one particular. So if I change this one to be 1, let's look at it. They are all going to be 1. Freiburg, Northwest, Western Cape. But the moment I change it, so you can get a question that like this, and then they tell you to make it to be in 2 columns. To move Northwest, Western Cape, and then the province. So here you change the column count to 2. then to go back to the normal one. Right, so that is all about database table. Now let's straight away move to queries. So we are done with the database table question. All these are database table.